Hey, I'm Shawn Kanungo. This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. We break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life. All right. Hey, guys, my name is Shawn Kanungo. This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. We're still here. We're still here at the end of 2023. We are here. We're here with one of our favorite guests, Adam O'Brien, CEO of Bitcoin Well. And Adam, let me tell you, Bitcoin is on a high, and I saw you walk in with a little bit more swagger in here. How are you feeling, by the way?
Honestly, man, like numb to the price to me.
Okay,
like I'm not selling, I'm still buying, and I've said this before. I've bought it $100. I'll buy it $100,000, and I'll buy it $1 million. It doesn't make a difference to me.
But tell me about and this is probably a dangerous idea, where when the aura around you gets hot, the people around you, you get texts from people that you probably haven't heard from for months.
Big time.
You get girls looking at you different. You get investors. Your board is a little bit more. You got a little perk in their step. That aura around you just becomes a little hotter. Does that happen when Bitcoin, the price goes up?
Yeah, definitely. and what it is like, I feel like it's a weird thing, like, because obviously we're in the business of buying and selling Bitcoin. Like it's like a confidence thing, not so much like my confidence in myself, but like others' confidence in me. Like you said, investors and even customers and stuff. People are just short. They're short term.
Yeah.
They're short mindset. And I don't know. When the price of Bitcoin goes up, it's like people are reaffirmed, or like it's like, oh, Adam said this would happen, and like I didn't believe him, but like now it happened in 13, it happened in 17, it happened in 21. Like we knew it was gonna happen again, or at least this is not shocking to me at all.
Yeah,
like zero.
It's fluctuated so much
completely.
But the price as it stands right now, like it's almost at 60K
Canadian. Yeah, which is nuts. Yeah, past 40 USD, I think. It's funny, man, but like here's how crazy, how broken the Canadian monetary system is. The last all-time high that Bitcoin hit, it hit $1 trillion market cap in the US.
Yep.
And that was a big deal. It is nowhere near $1 trillion. I think it's like a $700 billion market cap right now in USD, and it's over $1 trillion Canadian. So it goes to show you, like over the last 3-4 years since the last all-time high, just how much the Canadian dollar has depreciated against the rest of the world. It's pretty shocking.
So does that mean that there's even more of a bull case for Bitcoin because of
what happened? Did the Bitcoin price go up or did the dollar go down? Like let's talk about it, right? If everything in Canada is increasing in value, is that really what's happening, or is in fact the money we're trading for the other things that we're buying just decreasing in value, right? Over the last let's call it 5 years, like literally everything has gotten more expensive. Gas, or broader energy, food, shelter, electronics, like everything more expensive. So really, is everything else getting more valuable, or is just the money we're using to pay for that stuff getting less and less and less valuable? It's probably that. Like, it's probably just that, like, the loonie sucks.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
And we're devaluing it. We're making it worse and worse and worse every single day. And so it's no surprise that assets will continue increasing in value when they're measured against the Canadian dollar. And I've said this like to be like hyperbolic. Like if you want to be a billionaire, just go to Zimbabwe. Just go to go to Mexico. Like
totally.
You'll have 1 billion units of local currency, but that doesn't actually buy you $1 billion worth of value the way that you see it. So we're all like conditioned to think about this like local currency in single unit form, meaning like when I become a millionaire, when I get worth 10 million or 100 million, it's like, well, it doesn't actually matter. It depends on what value can you actually buy, what can you actually consume with that $1 billion or whatever.
Totally. So I mean, long story short, when it comes to Bitcoin, is that I guess obviously that's going to drop at some point, right? So you will, and I know you're not concerned on price,
right?
But is there, like, as a CEO of a publicly traded company with the Bitcoin halo on top of you, do you feel like and you've gone through all these different cycles, do you feel like these are times where you need to maximize? These are times where I need to get the best resources, the best talent, get my investors on board, get people aligned during this time, because this time doesn't always last forever.
100%. And it's actually less about the price of Bitcoin and more about what the price of Bitcoin brings, which is attention, right? The attention that comes. And I've said this forever, the best marketing that we as an industry or we as a business can do is CNBC talking about Bitcoin price. That's the number one thing. I could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on Google ads and get my keywords like perfectly dialed. My landing pages are converting at like 20%. Doesn't matter. The second that CNBC anchor's like, Bitcoin's up 40% this week.
Ross
it's like, boom, let's go. It's like, open the floodgates. The phones don't stop ringing. Like, it's out of hand. And it's just, it's the attention, because people kind of forget, and like, holy smokes, how early are we still?
So you feel like doubling down. And I think somebody that's not into Bitcoin can take this idea and say, hey, when things are hot, how do you double down?
Right.
And how do you maximize that attention that's in front of you?
Yeah, it's maximizing the attention, not necessarily maximizing the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
In my mind, I think that's the most important thing. And right now for us, it's making sure that those things, like, are our landing pages converting? You know, is our product buttoned up and ready? Like, when a brand new, is it easy enough for a brand new user who's thinking, maybe I'm going to give this Bitcoin thing a shot? Is our platform easy enough for them to sign in and use? Is the lingo we're using, like, we use some slang, right? We use things like our email signature. We say happy stacking, and like stack sats is a big thing to say in the community. It just means buy Bitcoin, add to your stack of Bitcoin. Does a new user see that, like, whoa, what does that mean? I'm not here for this, right? So it's like little things like that that make the big difference in taking advantage of the new attention that's coming into the industry.
Totally. Well, listen, I know, like this. I saw the swagger. I know you're busy now because it's always I always find that it's always a crazy time when the attention is there. So I really appreciate you actually coming on the pod and for us to chop up. And I have a bunch of dangerous ideas that I want to throw at you. And the first one is actually something that you commented on my Instagram, something that we posted on Dangerous Ideas Pod, the idea that our baseline expectations have now risen, and then we're just notoriously unhappy as customers. I use this example as, back in the day, we used to take an airplane, and then, the TV would come down, everybody would watch that one show, that one movie is a crappy Kevin Costner movie, and today now you have everything at your fingertips, and you're like,
nothing to watch.
Yeah, there's nothing to watch.
I'm bored.
You're angry, and I just think from a digital perspective, I don't think that we can make people incredibly happy anymore. I think our expectations are too high, and we're competing. Every single company is competing against each other. We're using Amazon, we're using Uber, and when we can click everything, when we tap a button, we can get everything at our fingertips. How can you compete against that? And so, it's tough. It's tough as running a company, or especially when it comes to digital, to keep up with those expectations, because the customer's happiness is based on expectations.
Yeah, man. And I think this kind of goes back to how fair is the playing field? How many alternative things are coming in? If you look at, like, for example, the example of I think Mr. Beast is a really good example. We've now been conditioned that should be available to us for free. We should have a single guy, spending millions and millions of dollars every few weeks to put out content that we get to consume completely free. And there's like a 30-second SeatGeek plug in the middle of it, and off we go. But like he said it before, that rodeo for him is running out. He doesn't see the ROI on that unless the consumer starts to pay for it, in my opinion, because like SeatGeek's not going to be able to fund that 8-minute video for much longer.
No.
And so we start to now realize how our short-term thinking in that, the well, we need unlimited libraries of everything available to us at all times. And Netflix did a great job of giving us that. And that was sick for a little while. And it was like $8 a month. And you had all kinds of access. We can cut the cord. And now it's like $20 a month. You don't have everything that you want. And it's like, well,
I think
that's not much better.
That's the thing, is that you do have everything that you want. Your expectations have become so wild.
Well, except for like Disney pulled all their stuff off so that you go to the Disney one.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Crave has the HBO stuff. So you don't have everything in the one, like it's all still very, very centralized to the point where companies are still like feeding into our short-term mindset, giving us little bits and pieces of what we think we want, but it actually over the long term kind of hurts our long-term ability to be happy, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's really dangerous. I think about my kids.
Yeah.
And I think about, one of the hacks that my wife and I have, we have very little parenting hacks, but one of the hacks that we have is that we rarely let our kids watch on-demand streaming.
Yep.
Like we get them to watch linear television because the pain of going through an advertisement, the pain of going through a commercial is like, I want them to build that like resilience, which is the stupidest thing in the world.
Dude, that's called time the 30 seconds of this boring, ad and I don't really care about is like important for me to build my time preference stamina, because I know the sacrifice for this is worth the reward in the future.
Yeah, so it's like and I just don't want my kids expecting things, at their fingertips. And I think that's why people coming into the workforce and they're expecting they're expecting things to happen right away. They expect a promotion to happen right away. They expect a raise to happen right away, and that's just not how the world works.
It did when the manipulation of money was so high, interest rates were so low, people were loose with their cash, companies were overfunded.
Yep.
And it's like market cycles, right? And like at that time, companies were so desperate. They had so much free cash. It didn't matter. The production of their business mattered less than their ability to convince their investors they could produce eventually. And I wrote an article on this like a year and a half ago called From Promises to Production. And the thesis was like how our world is transitioning from if you have $1 billion and I say, hey, I promise we're going to do incredible things in like 10 years, but I need 10 million right now. You're like, oh yeah, I got $1 billion. Here you go. If I lose it, I lose it. But like this guy promised. So like, sure, here we go.
Yeah.
And we're transitioning from that to a series of like, hey, look at the past. Look at the production that we've done. Here's the production that we're going to be able to replicate and continue. Now can I have your million or your $10 million? And so these companies that were kind of like vaporware.
Which is what it should be.
100%. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
You should be valued based on your ability to produce. And so these companies that were like vaporware never really had any real value to produce and weren't selling value to their customers are now have no cash, which means, they aren't able to like reward this person for doing like, a halfway job because they don't need to do that anymore. And it all comes down to like, you reward the people that produce the most. That's how the free market should be working. And if you're producing at a high level, you should get paid and promoted at that high level. And if you're not, then you shouldn't. And I think what we're seeing is not so much like a reduction in the workplace. We're seeing like a re-equalization of the workplace. And I think that's a benefit for both like us as business owners, but also like us as consumers. Like I think, I'm not sure if you've been to a restaurant lately, but like, man, people just cannot like serve a table very well anymore, in my opinion. Like,
is that right?
Oh man, I feel like I go, it's like 10, 15 years ago, it was like people were actually like educating me on, no, like this meal is going to go better with this for XYZ reasons. By the way, our steak is grass-fed and that's better. And by the way, the burger's chuck steak, so that's good too. And now it's like, what do you want? Like, okay, good, upsell. Do you want mushrooms? That's fine, whatever. And then off they go. It's like, there's less of that, like, there's less value being provided. And I think, again, that's due to the fact that, these arbitrary external forces, minimum wage goes up, therefore you can no longer pay the really, really good employee. Right. You have to pay them all the same.
Is that just the case because, you're going out with all the kids and they're like, damn it, there's a lot of kids here. Just, hey, what do you guys want? Hey, what do you guys want? When it's you and your wife, at some point you guys were dinks, dual income, no kids, which is becoming a huge thing. hey, the server treats you nicer.
That could be it. We actually don't go out with our kids too often. I don't find it enjoyable. I'd rather like get takeout and bring it home. And that could be part of it. I mean, like whatever. But again, like in my mind, like are we that shallow as a society that you don't think like the young dad and mom with 4 kids could like actually give you a good tip? Like like are we at the place where like I could probably afford to give a pretty good tip if you like look after my family of 4. It actually like it might be more beneficial for you to only look after my family at the restaurant table.
I want to get some like we're gonna bring some like servers in here and basically
now I'm like some snob. I'm oh, I don't get served well enough.
By the way, for the first time ever on Dangerous Ideas Pod, I'm gonna let you look at your phone because actually before coming here, you were looking at your phone because you have a fleet of vehicles now on Turo, and in line with this idea of baseline expectations. I love Turo. Okay, Turo, by the way, if you don't know, it's like a car rental app, and so instead of going to like the Hertz, the Budget, to all these different places, you can go to Turo. And the beautiful part about Turo as a customer is that like this is what I love is that I show up I text the guy, I'm here. He shows up with his car. He gives me the keys, and I'm off. And to drop it off, I go to the airport. I give him the keys, and I'm off again. There's no signature. There's nothing. It is a seamless experience. My baseline expectation for car rentals has now risen. I want that experience from Hertz, from Budget, and they're not going to give it to me because every time I go to rent a car, I got to sign this thing. They're upselling
wait
me.
In line.
Oh my God.
I did that at LAX last week. I was like waiting in line, like 8 cars deep, and I was like, and it's because LAX doesn't let Turo come in, so I had to like go to the Hertz place and like, oh, it was a complete nightmare.
But as an owner, does that now of a fleet of cars, does that the baseline expectation is so high from a consumer perspective and you're delivering a service?
Yeah.
Like you're just getting into this, by the way. So I'm just curious.
No, for sure. And like the reason I got into it was less because I wanted to like have another job and more because I just didn't want to own car. Like you need to like here in Edmonton.
I like what you're doing. You're maximizing the use of
like
your car,
and that's what it is. And so for me, like I've got an EV, which is great for daily use, and then I wanted like a luxury station wagon, which didn't make sense to have both, and then I needed a truck to like tow things around. And it's like, well, I don't want to have all these things just sitting in my driveway. All these things cost money to maintain and insure and whatever. And so the thought process was like, well, if I could have just access to these things when I need them, then that would be good. And then if I can also, rent them out at times, that would pay for it, basically.
Yeah.
Because like my Tesla is like getting older. I had like a service. And by the way, I'm broken by Tesla. Speaking of expectations, that is the first 6 years. It's the first time the car was like in the shop. Like
wow.
No oil changes, no transmission flush, no belts changed.
Wow.
And it was like $6,000 or something, like maybe $5,500 something. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. And I was like, wait, that's actually pretty good.
That's amazing.
Having driven like 120,000
and think about
kilometers.
all the gas that you saved.
Completely. Yeah. So like as far as maintenance goes, it's been very, very good. But I was like, that kind of hinted to me like, okay, we're at the point now where this car is going to start needing, a few $1,000s worth of work every year or whatever it was. But then the car itself has free supercharging. So I was like, wow, that's a waste to just give that away because it's a good benefit to have if we're going on road trips. And then also because of the Tesla car prices, like it's just not worth what what it would cost me to replace.
Right.
And so I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to sell it. I don't really want to like have to pay for it anymore. And so what do I do? And renting it is kind of like the hypothesis that I'm testing out right now. So yeah, I've been doing it for like 6 months or so.
You have one maintenance check and you're now putting it on Turo.
This is it. I'm done. Yeah, man. But I mean, talk about expectations, right? Like good luck getting me into a conventional like whatever.
So I was gonna save this till the end of the pod because we talk about current events, but the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see Adam O'Brien.
Dude, I'm
driving a Cybertruck.
I'm Rezo 3000.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna have one of the first. Well, assuming they come to Canada at an equal rate, I'm gonna have one of the first ones.
Wow.
I have 2 reservations. Made them at the same time. One is Rezo 3000. One is like 70,000 or something like that. And
when do you think you're gonna get it?
Oh, man, so this is like actually the first thing that I'm like really excited for. Like,
yeah.
You know, usually like it used to be like the iPhone, like you used to get all amped up in September. Like the new iPhone's coming out. Let's see. Now iPhone's like it's like whatever 4% better. That doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
You know, then it was like earlier in my life it was like game consoles, like when the new game or the new like NHL was coming out, like all jacked up. Now like I don't play games enough, doesn't make it. But this Cybertruck, I am
why are you so excited about the Cybertruck?
It's just so different. I'm just so excited to see the level of innovation. Like when I got my first Tesla, I was like blown away at the speed, blown away at the level of innovation and technology that went into the vehicle. And I think they've done it again with this Cybertruck. And it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to shoot it, but I really want to shoot a gun at it.
Yeah. Well, listen. Drive by Northside Edmonton and
like 9 p.m.
We'll see what happens. No, sure, there's some really nice places in Northside Edmonton. Just downtown Edmonton. Anyway, go to actually West Edmonton Mall. It seems outside
Every
the
other
Gap
week right now, man. It's crazy.
It's crazy. So the reason why I want to bring up the Cybertruck is I equally am excited about the Cybertruck. I didn't put a reservation in, mostly because I couldn't convince my boss, my wife, she just like, that's ugly, I don't want it. But, you know, at some point I'm going to surprise her and get the Cybertruck. I just think...
Go on, quick side note. Yeah. My first Tesla, I fully like didn't tell Christina and just rocked up in the car. I put it on YouTube. It was pretty good.
I think I saw that. That was pretty crazy.
You should definitely do that.
With the Cybertruck?
Yeah.
I just don't know at this point if it will fit in our garage. I just don't know if it will.
It's same as an F-150.
Yeah, okay.
So if an F-150 will fit, which is like a standard truck, then...
So the reason why I brought this up is because obviously you saw the news last week where, and this is kind of dated now, but Elon Musk was at the DealBook Summit in New York talking to our boy from CNBC, Andrew Ross Sorkin, and Sorkin was asking him about the advertisers on Twitter. And Elon said, excuse my French, but said, go fuck yourself.
And then said, hi, Bob.
He said, hi, Bob, to Bob Iger. And by the way, he's been tweeting at Bob Iger for the last couple of weeks.
Feud.
And that's crazy because Bob Iger is one of the most reputable, one of the most powerful people on the planet.
Yeah, I think he's lost it though.
Who, Elon?
No, Bob. Like
Disney. In terms of Disney, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he came back. What was it, 3-4 years ago, or whatever it was now, and hard to say where that ship will sail. But what got you there won't get you, into the future. And I think
he also took over a hard portfolio
completely.
After the Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus has been losing subscribers, and they made a hard pivot to Disney Plus during the pandemic, and then they had a whole bunch of subscribers. Like, it was insane, and I don't think they just pivoted way too hard on that, and I don't think it was worthwhile for them. But going back to this is that what I found interesting about the whole Elon discussion was that I believe that Elon saying go fuck yourself to the advertisers on X actually may have hindered X, but actually it gives way more of an aura around the Cybertruck and Tesla. Because Elon, and we've said this in the past, obviously these vehicles are amazing. The Tesla, the Cybertruck, the future. I haven't driven a Cybertruck yet, but they're amazing vehicles. And I feel like the go fuck yourself attitude and applying that to the Cybertruck, I believe that it actually boosts the Cybertruck. Like, yeah, man, this is the fucking anti-establishment. This is the anti-establishment vehicle. So him saying go fuck yourself actually rose the stock price of Tesla.
Yeah, and I mean, what we're seeing now is we're seeing how much power Elon, they're talking about Twitter and X, and here we are relating it back to, Tesla, like a completely different industry entity, all because of kind of the man at the head. I totally agree. I think that Elon's brand, as it comes, I mean, even Twitter is becoming, or X is becoming, the anti-establishment like media company place to be. And I think that everything he touches from now on will continue to be picked up by this seemingly growing movement of like, I don't need somebody else to tell me what to think or tell me what to do. I'm my own individual, and I will embrace that. And I think that's what Elon is saying there. I think like similar to, 60 years ago, it was like the customer is always right mentality. And we've kind of drifted away from that, where we can kind of pick and choose who we want our customers to be. You see someone declining service because it's like, you're too much of a pain. Like, we've heard about this concept of like firing our clients or whatever. That's all like pretty new. Now we're into like this maybe more hardcore stage of that, where it's like, hey, you don't get to tell me, you as an advertiser can't tell me as a media content driver what to do. And it's a bet that Elon's making. But we've seen every single mainstream media source, like in North America, completely cater and crater to what the advertiser wants to see. And who are the advertisers? It's like big banks and pharma companies. That's who we're catering to, right? And Elon's like rich enough, frankly, to just be like, nah.
Yeah. And you know what? I get, it's funny because I see it online, and X is not a real platform because it's very skewed, but it seems like there is a complete bias against Elon Musk on both sides. Obviously, I'm a little bit more pro Elon because I love innovation. That's what I've built my entire brand on in terms of innovation. So I appreciate what he's built. And the fact that he says crazy things on X, by the way, I think the reason why these advertisers are off is because he might have said some anti-Semitic things, but the guy went to like Israel and he learned what do you want from do you really think that the leaders, because of social media, do you really think that the people that we heralded, do you think Steve Jobs would say like the safest things on social media if he was around? Do you think like the Rockefeller would say like the safe, like, do you really think that
isn't Walt Disney like, isn't he just like an actual Nazi or like
yeah. I'm just baffled by it. And look at what Elon has done. We're talking about the Tesla. We're talking about the Cybertruck. These are incredible innovations. I mean, forget all these innovations. Just talk about Starlink and what it has done to rural places around the world. Rural Alberta, people rely on this service. He's literally connecting the world. And if he says some bad things on Twitter, and he does, get over it. He's creating innovations. You can't expect the people that are literally making the world better to be perfect. You can't. And if you don't like it, then watch Netflix.
Yeah, but also like take it in context. Like, and I'm not all up to date on the drama of what Elon says on a day-to-day basis. Elon or any other leader or whatever, but it strikes me that we actually don't get clear line of sight into what these powerful people are saying. We get like clipped up versions,
100%
out of context, and that's what gets spread, because what's getting spread is not necessarily like the full interview. I mean, even look at the one that we're talking about, like just Elon sitting there saying, "Go F yourself," like that out of context. It's like Elon tells every X user to go F them. It's like, well, no, actually he told the advertisers and then actually specifically like the Disney CEO. Like,
exactly.
Like depending on your context there, it could get, it wildly changes, I think, the story. And I think that's one thing we don't do enough of as humans is investigate the context of things, which is incredibly important.
Nobody reads anything. They only see clips. They only see headlines. They only see tweets. They don't read. They don't watch the full thing. And I've had so many debates and arguments with people that they're literally just basing their decision on the headline And I'm like, did you watch the full podcast? Did you watch the full thing? Like, did you see the nuance? Or like, no, I don't need to see it because I heard what. No, you didn't hear. You didn't. If you didn't read the full article, if you didn't watch the whole thing, your opinion actually does not matter.
Well, and that's the thing, is that humanity thinks their opinion does matter because someone somewhere gets paid for their opinion. And it's like fairly decentralized. It's fairly possible to be able to do that. And so therefore, I should get paid for my opinion, which is, I think, just the fallacy that exists.
Well, I think what's happened is in this society today is that opinions have become the new form of status.
Bingo.
And the more opinionated that you are, the more status that you get.
100%, man. And like status and then therefore money. And I think previously the money came from big advertisers, which is, I think, like who was targeting and wanted to get their narrative pushed out. And now we're kind of seeing maybe they don't have as much weight. Maybe there's other advertisers willing to put their money behind, a more, like, call it free speech, call it just like uncensored, call it like what have you. And all of a sudden that kind of like dangling stick that exists of like, don't say anything out of line, I'm going to hit you, is not that strong anymore.
Yeah. The next thing I want to talk to you about is that I believe that in the future, the next big superpower is your ability to approach random people, your ability to talk to anybody. Now, you just went on a trip with your family. I think you guys went to Disney. You guys go to Phoenix as well?
Yeah, well, that was, my son and I, just a little boys trip. Him and I, we went, dude, it was so good. We went to Phoenix, and we had a layover in LA for like 12 hours. We went to Universal Studios for the day.
That's amazing, man.
Flew home. It was awesome.
That's awesome. That one on time is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because, like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, as a kid, I used to watch my father, and he would always just like talk to random people. Like, he would approach people in the subway. He would approach people everywhere. Like, when we were traveling, he would ask people questions, and I'd be like, Dad, like, and then, but what I noticed when he did that, and maybe this became subconscious, is that actually people are actually very friendly.
Yeah.
They're actually very approachable. And if you come with authenticity and just curiosity, people absolutely, open up. And I think I learned that very early on. And for me, like, I have no problems approaching people. I love talking to people. And I just feel like this upcoming generation, they just don't have that skill. That's why, to me, it's fascinating because the things that blow up on TikTok are people, like guys or girls approaching other people on the street. And I think part of the reason why those things blow up is because the ability for somebody to do that is like, they just don't have that muscle, right? People talking about rizzing up girls or rizzing, this idea of, by the way, rizz is like the word of the year, by the way, by dictionary.com.
Yeah, well, like I don't even know what that, I've never heard
Rizz
that
means
before.
like it's your game. It's your ability to spit game, like at a girl.
Okay.
Like your ability to pick up. That's the rizz.
What did that use? Wheel. Right?
Wheel, yeah,
Wheel.
Rizz.
That used to be wheel.
Yeah, Rizz is the new wheel, or
It's
Rizz
like,
is
what's
the new
this
game.
generation called? Alpha or something? It's like Generation Alpha's ability to wheel. Is
Yeah,
Rizz.
wheel, exactly. Okay, so there you go. So the ability to approach people, I believe, is going to be a super. It's just going to be a superpower, and that's what I absolutely want my kids to learn that. In fact, my kids and we play a game called Truth or Dare, and I actually think this is, and I'm totally biased, but I actually think that's a great game. So what we do is we only play the game when we're in public.
Oh, cool.
And what we do is we say, we do rock, paper, scissors, truth or dare. I always choose dare, and they always get me to do something like in public, go ask that person for this, that, like, and then I do the reverse. Now, at the beginning, my kids were a little bit apprehensive of going up to random people, and they're like 7 and 4, right? But now, they're totally comfortable with it. They will go up to random people, and I'm trying to create that muscle for them to be like, hey, if you actually go up to strangers, if you actually go up to people
in certain environments,
in certain environments, that they will actually open up and they'll be nice, and that's what I want my kids to know, is that people are actually great. I want my kids to know that people are actually trustworthy and they're nice and they're approachable. And I just think the ability to look somebody in the eye, have that relationship, develop a relationship, that's going to be a superpower.
Yeah, man, 100%. We, like, as humans, we kind of reflect like mirrors, right? We kind of reflect our environments.
Yeah.
And if someone comes up to you and is like friendly and smiling and like, hey, like I like your jacket or whatever, like you got nice hair, then like you're not gonna be like, F off, I don't like you. Like you're gonna be like, oh, thanks, like you have nice eyes, and like have a great day, right? All good. But what happens is if you are only mirroring like yourself because you don't talk to people or you're like a little bit more close, like our natural tendency as humans is to just mirror our emotion. And if we're stuck in a bedroom, just like infinite scroll, like everyone else is better than me, like in this negative kind of mindset, we're going to start mirroring. That's going to like compound to the negative effect. And if you turn into like some pessimistic person that just can't speak to people, or that only speaks to people pessimistically, and then they're going to mirror you, like, and it's gonna again like doubly compound. And so I think that's a pretty good insight, that people, generally speaking, if you can just be nice to strangers, you're probably gonna have a pretty good life, and you're probably gonna be like successful in some ways. I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what the response is.
Before I get to Neve, can you research research how many, like the percentage of people that like approach women these days? Like, see if you can find some research on like how many people are comfortable approaching women or vice versa in this new era. See if you can find that.
It's gonna be interesting to see how that affects like marriage and birth rates and like happy couples down the future. Because if I'm not comfortable to go talk to the girl of my dreams, I'm probably not gonna land the girl of my dreams.
Well, I actually, that's a really good point. The other really important point is that if you are not able to approach other people, then that means you actually have no understanding of other people.
Totally.
And if you can't listen, if you can't understand, if you can't look somebody in the eye and build an interpersonal relationship with random people, how are you going to build a business? How are you going to be able to build make friends? Like,
how about a family? Like, how about build a little family that you've got like sons and daughters who are literally relying on you, only you, for like the first 5 to 7 years on how to like think, act, how to do everything. They're relying on you. And if you can't do that for yourself, like how are you going to do that? And again, talking about like how shifts of society happen, that's how. It's big macro events that eliminate our ability or our desire to push ourselves and eliminate our ability to desire to better ourselves, which then breeds into that kind of next generation, which is a little dangerous.
I can see you having, I know you're married, you have 4 kids, but I can see you having tremendous game.
Thank you. I'm a good razzer.
Just rizzer.
Rizzer. Damn, man, I'm too old. Like I'm not that old. I should know what the word what the kids are using. Yeah, man. I mean, like I landed the girl of my dreams. Like, wow. And I didn't do that by being scared in a corner. I did that by like I had to pursue Christina. Like, it was like I met her one night. Like I think literally 2 or 3 days later, I was like, I'm gonna marry that girl. Like I knew straight away she was like infinite potential and incredible individual. And I had to pursue her for like weeks. Like she wouldn't go out for lunch with me. And it wasn't easy, but no good things are. And now like we're happily married, have been for it'll be 10 years next year.
Wow.
And off we go.
Incredible. And that's the power of persistence. So that's amazing. You got something? Okay, so to repeat, Neve said, based on this research, where's this research from? Shawn Kanungo? Where is it from? Stature PR. I don't know. I can't validate this. But it says that 75% of men are scared of approaching women. 75% of men
are we shocked that's the case in a world that demonizes like masculinity? Like, are we surprised to see this stat, continually like increasing, but to the negative? Like, I think that's only ever going to go up as we continue to like demonize, masculinity.
What do you mean, but demonize masculinity?
Demonize, like,
you think the woke ideology is demonizing?
I think we've made the risk. For it's Riz, right?
Riz.
Okay,
yeah,
we've
Riz.
made the risk of rizzing so great And the reward is the girl of your dreams, and that's an incredible reward. But the risk of
like women will think that you're
sexually harassing them. Right. You're going to get dragged through the mud. Someone's going to post this on X, and I'm going to lose my job.
Right.
And I'm going to lose my business. And I'm going to be disowned by every future girl that I try to speak to. And that's maybe taking a bit of a hyperbolic scenario kind of down the line. But the risk of that happening is so great now with the mass attention machine that we've got. And rightly or wrongly, I think that when the risk of approaching an intelligent and attractive individual becomes greater than the reward of, like, I don't know what you want to call it, landing, or like getting a relationship with that intelligent and attractive individual, you're not going to do it. You're going to be too scared. And I think that if it used to be 20% and then it was 50 and then it's 75, that's only going to get worse in a society that continues to like again, I think the risk is too high.
I actually disagree that it's not that they're looking at the risks. I actually think that they're just, because we're so addicted to our digital, social media, digital technologies, that to me is the bigger reason as to why guys are not approaching girls. It's not that the risk of them getting, I think it's partially there that, there's some sexual harassment piece, but really it's that they don't want to be let down. And we've built a society of people that they don't want to, get shot because of their status. They're less willing to take a risk, and that is the fear, that they will get shot down.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to your point, like the risk of like whatever it is. I think that like when your society is breeding individuals that are comfortable hearing the word no, that are comfortable being shot down, that are comfortable like risking what is perceived to be the greatest risk, then you're going to be able to take more risks.
Yeah.
And whether it's, maybe it's multiple different things. Maybe it's not just the risk of whatever, like not the risk of a false acquisition. Maybe it's coupled with the risk of being shut down, coupled with the risk of what will my friends think, coupled with the risk of like XYZ.
So this actually brings me to my another dangerous idea, which is the idea that, and we talked about it in the past on this pod, but this idea that people do not give a shit about you. People do not really care about what you're doing, and we disproportionately think that people are thinking about us. We don't make moves, we don't take risks because we're afraid of what people are thinking, when they absolutely are not thinking about you at all. And I know this probably happens to you. It happens to me all the time. And I always have to remind myself that these people, they have no idea. They're like, I'll meet somebody that I know, like a friend. You'd be like, oh, like, how's, I saw you, like, I think I saw you like in Dubai or something like that. I'm like, yeah, that was like 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, do you still, how's Deloitte going, man? I left them like 7 years ago. It's just like, and people even close to you, they're not paying attention to you. So to me, that's incredibly inspiring, because to me, it's like, just go and do the thing, right? Go and build what you want. Don't be afraid of what people are thinking about you, because they're not.
Yeah, and funny enough, the more that you embrace that, the more people will care. Which
right.
is like, if that's your end goal, right? If that's your end desire. Like, look at, back to our first kind of topic of conversation on Elon. The less and less that he cares about what people are like thinking, the more and more
right.
and more attention he's getting. It's like, look at this anomaly. Why isn't he bowing down to all the advertisers? This is crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't care. And they're like, oh, he doesn't care. We better write about this. And so it's funny where like you get this, you get into this, again, self-mirroring perspective of problems. Like, oh, people will laugh at me, and then that's what you believe, and then that just continually, well, if people would laugh at me for that, then they'll for sure laugh at me for this. Run that through your mind 4 or 5 times. Like, you're just taking falsity after falsity after falsity and not doing the thing, so to speak, in in this fake fear that doesn't actually exist. It's it's paralyzing. It's so brutal.
I know you're like a pioneer. Like I see you as somebody obviously being in the space that you're in, which is a new age pioneering field of Bitcoin. And just based on your personality, you don't seem like a guy that gets into this trap. But tell me if you are somebody that you do at the end of the day care about what people think about you.
Yeah.
By the way, I care about what people think about me. I do. I just have to remind myself that people, they don't give a shit about they're not paying attention to what I'm doing all the time.
Right.
But I do care about what people think about me. Otherwise, I wouldn't show up here. I did my hair this morning. I wore some pants this morning. Like I do care at the end of the day. I want to show up presentable, and I want to show up with my best intentions. But like, I'm just recognizing that people, they're just not paying attention to all my moves, and that's freeing to me. But I want to know your opinion.
No, I think that I care a lot less about what people think of me. I'm trying to transition that into more caring about how I make people feel. And I think more importantly, how I make the people that make me feel good. And it gets a little dangerous. There's like, you need to find balance. I think that with everything in life, you need to find balance, but we need to care a lot less about how the like rando on the street, like what they think about us, and more like in that 30-second interaction that I had with them, did they feel like empowered or positive versus like put down and negative? And I think that's probably like the next wave, my next wave of like growth is,
how can I help people?
Yeah, bingo. How can I help? And like, help is like such a vague term. Like let's define help, right? Is it help today or help in 10 years? And those two actions are going to be almost opposite all the time. Helping someone today almost never helps them in 10 years, and vice versa. But I think like certainly over the last 5 years, especially, the level at which I care about what people think about me has decreased dramatically, but like almost equivalently has increased my consciousness on how I'm making people feel when I'm in a room. And then sometimes I just don't care, and I just don't care, and then I try a lot less harder, and that's like usually not very good. But I've definitely found I think like not satisfaction, but maybe solace, or like does
that come with age, or is that becoming hardened as a publicly traded CEO?
It's so funny. It's a little bit of hardened, a little bit of age, but I think more than anything, it was ironically what people thought about me. It was like going through the like being in Bitcoin for 10 years now, having everyone call me an idiot or a scam artist or like fake or like whatever, to then like almost overnight switch to calling me like an oracle and a genius and like, winning awards and stuff like that. It's like, it just reminded me that like none of this matters on both sides, right? The same people that were like, you are dumb, Bitcoin is tulips, and this is stupid. That same person is like, wow, Bitcoin's amazing. You had a great vision. I can't believe how smart you are. It's like, well, you're just actually have no idea, like on either side of that. And so it was maybe not necessarily the fact that like I like saw success or whatever, but maybe it was more so like the same person saying completely opposite sides of that spectrum made me realize, kind of like what you said, like you have no idea. You have no clue. And as much as I'm scrambling behind the scenes, you are scrambling behind the scenes. And why should I give you any type of weight? But I've also like recently been a lot more like strategic and mission or like why focused. Like I care a lot less about what I do and a lot more about why I do the things that I do. And like I'm right now in the process of like designing a private education like system for my children, because I just do not believe in the school system. I think like it's going to be like just abysmal as my kids grow up into school, and people are going to call me insane, and I'm like fully aware of that.
So what are you doing? You're putting your kids into like It's not homeschooling.
Well, I'm gonna like hire a teacher.
Okay.
And like pick, the curriculum that the kids are gonna be like, going off, and lots of it will be based off of STEM. But I'm a big proponent of like our existing system is just dumb. Like having school for 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day for children is like ridiculous. Unfortunately, and this is
great for babysitting.
Amazing for babysitting. It is socialized daycare at this point.
Right.
I think that we've gotten a lot of incredible teachers that are completely overwhelmed and therefore underperforming in terms of like think about it this way. The best hockey players that go on to play great hockey are usually born in the first 3 months of the year because they're generally older playing minor hockey, and therefore the coach's attention naturally gravitates towards them.
This is from Tipping Point, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's like just common, like that's just a bunch of logic and math. And so if you're like 7, you're the best player on your team, the coach is going to like give you the most attention and you're going to grow. And then when you're 8, the same thing, 9, the same thing, that like extra coach attention just compounds and grows. And then you're Connor McDavid. Like that's just that's historically how it's worked. The opposite happens in the school system. The maximum teacher's attention goes to the lowest common denominator. The kid that's talking out, the kid that's like acting out, the kid that needs the most help. That's who's getting it. So then the smartest kid, the brightest kid in the room, unless the teacher is like going over and above, which lots of them do, and it's incredible when they do it. The brightest kid in the room is just left to his own. Oh, your worksheet's good? Okay, you're fine.
Right.
But Jimmy over here, he like doesn't understand the worksheet, so I'm gonna spend 30 minutes with him. You just twiddle your thumbs. Right? Or here's another worksheet. Or here's the same thing. I don't think that's good. I think that we should be putting attention into we shouldn't leave those kids to like drown, obviously. But there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
And also I don't think that sitting there reading a book is like the best way to learn at all times either. And when I think about what I want my kids to be learning, like self-defense is a big piece of that. Some kind of physical activity, pushing themselves, music, all these things are extracurricular. And frankly, maybe I'm lazy, maybe I just don't want to do it, but like piano lessons at 5:30 at night, that's probably not the optimal time for my kid to be learning how to play the piano. Yeah. It's probably like 2 p.m. or like 11 a.m. or something, right?
We do it at 7, so yeah.
Right, and like that's bedtime for my kids. Like at 7 p.m., my kids, like I got 7, 6, 4, and 2, or almost 2. Like 7 p.m. is not the time to be learning. They're like in the basement, maybe they're like singing songs or like they're like we're ready to read books. Like if your piano lessons at 7 p.m., you're getting home at 8.
Yep, that's what happened yesterday.
And then what? They're like in bed at 8:30. I mean, the 5-year-old needs probably at least 10 hours of sleep, right? Are they sleeping at 8:30? Probably not. It's like 9 o'clock now. Like 10 hours of sleep later, like is that the appropriate, or is like what would be better? Doing your 3 hours of like STEM work during the day, let's call it the morning, then you have a good lunch, and then you go out and like you do some music, you do some physical activity, you do some self-defense, you do like whatever the sport of the month is. I just find like that's a better system. And so back to like, people are going to call me insane.
No,
but why am I doing that is because I want my kids to reach maximum potential. Something I've been hearing a lot of lately is people saying like, oh, well, like, and I'm talking about this a lot. I'm like really diving in. And
I love this, by the way. Keep going. These are dangerous ideas.
Yeah.
This might be one of the most dangerous ideas that you're actually implementing. We just talk shit here, but you're actually implementing and executing. Yeah.
I don't talk very well. I just like, I'm just better at like doing stuff, and that's how I think and learn. But this thought process of people being like, oh, well, you did the normal school thing and you turned out fine. And it's like, okay, yes, probably. But did I reach maximum potential? And the delta between you did fine based on a bar that is set by the lowest common denominator between you hit maximum potential is like growing astronomically.
Yeah. I love when people always use that thing. They're like, oh, I went here, or I did this. Look at me, I'm fine. I'm like, dude, you're fucked up. Like, what do you mean?
But even if they're not, it's like, what more could you be doing? Right? Yeah.
I think about this all the time.
Oh, it's so important.
And I've been talking to my friends about. I've been doing a lot of reflection. Next year I'm turning 40. So wow.
You know what Riz is, man? I'm 31.
I love that you're like, I'm turning 40, and you're like, damn, oh my god,
1 foot in the grave.
No, I'm turning 40 next year, and I've been reflecting a lot about my peers, the people that I went to school with, the people that I grew up with, my family friends, and to seeing where they're at, whether it's from a happiness perspective, from a wealth perspective, from just a general overall family perspective, like how are they doing? I mean, it's just natural for you to like look back and see, like, we all grew up together. We all have the same socioeconomic backgrounds. Why did some people go here? Why did some people go there? And I'm trying to find some sort of variable that propelled some individuals and some didn't, even though we all grew up in the same environment.
I think I've been doing a lot of similar like thought process. I think the variable is the difference between how much you compare to others versus how much you compare to your vision of what you want to be. Because if I look against, like, I think both you and I are probably considered in the top 1%. I would expect, right, of earners. We're 99% better. Like pack it in, man. We're good, right? It's fine. We're good. But I'm just getting started. I'm nowhere. I'm gonna look back in 10 years and be like, from a happiness, from a smartness. One of my colleagues, I consider him like a pretty good friend and mentor. He said, I am I was way dumber 10 years ago. And I'm also convinced that I am the dumbest today compared to 10 years from now,
right?
Or whatever and that level of self-reflection, it's not, I'm way smarter than these 5 people and I want to be like that guy. It's very much self-reflection, self-focused. What do I want? Where do I want to be? Why do I want to be there? And then drive towards that. It doesn't matter if your colleagues are like, oh, like they're all way better than I am. Like, who cares? It doesn't actually. And then also the same has to be true where I'm better than them.
So you're saying that me doing this reflection, comparing myself to the people that I grew up with or went to school with, it actually does not matter.
I'm suggesting that.
I'm just curious because it's like we all grew up together. So I'm just curious, why did I turn out the way that I did? And by the way, did I reach my maximum potential? I don't know. Maybe not, probably not.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure it out. The fortunate thing for me is that I'm trying to unlearn the things that I grew up with to figure out how do I reach my maximum potential, which I have not reached yet.
No, I don't think any of us.
And this is part of the reason why this pod is like, how do we keep developing these ideas and keep learning and unlearning? So man,
I think the majority of people on Earth have not reached maximum potential because we are obsessed finding a lower common denominator and comparing ourselves to that. I mean, like Connor McDavid, best hockey player on the planet in 2023, right? Bar none. I would say, maybe I'm biased because he plays in the backyard, but like that's who the best hockey player is. He's not packing it in. He's not. He doesn't care. He's like, I had more points than Matthews. So I'm not going to train this summer.
Right.
I'm going to go on a cruise. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to go skate. I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. to train. I'm going to eat that extra double cheeseburger because who cares? He's like, no. I actually don't care about the other like 700 people in the league. They're irrelevant to me. I'm looking to smash what I can do. I want to hit maximum potential for myself. And I think that's the mindset that we should be taking as a society is like, who cares what your friends are doing? Who cares what your dad, what your mom, what your aunt and uncle?
So let's go back to your kids here though. So then how do you know? Like, I'm just curious, the things that you are implementing, how do you know that these things are trying to engineer them to reach that potential?
Yeah, man, you have no idea. Yeah. What I do know is that the alternative I have low confidence in. And so in my mind, like, what is maximum potential? Baseline in my mind, they love Jesus, they love each other, and they can think. Those are the 3 things that I need them to be able to do. And so it's like,
and Bitcoin, yeah.
Well, if you love each other, you're gonna love Bitcoin because you need to be able to save your value.
Right.
But like those 3 things, let's just reverse engineer that end result. And like, we're gonna make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. The goal is not that we don't make mistakes. The goal is that we make mistakes. We understand what the mistakes are. Like, dude, look at us. We think that all of our learning comes when we're like 12. Like, you're 40 and you're like, I'm trying to unlearn.
Yeah, I'm 40 next year, by the way.
Sorry, yeah, 40 next year. Dude, you're basically 50. No, I'm just kidding. But like we are, like, I'm 31 and I'm still learning an incredible, actually, I think I'm 32. I was born in 92. So however old that makes me in 2020, 31. Yeah, 31.
This guy's been busy. He doesn't know his age yet. So
I'm still learning a ton today.
Yeah.
And so I do not put as much weight in their like early learning. I want to build habits. I want to build thought process, and I want to build core values more than I want to build like, oh, did you get 97% on your math test in grade 7? Because I did, and like that didn't help me too much.
And I think that's great. I think for me, when it comes to my kids, like we still have our kids in the traditional system.
And so do I. Like, my kids are still there.
Yeah.
In my mind, like grade 4 is kind of my breaking point.
I want to move on. You know, I think the only thing for me is that I still want my kids to have that interpersonal, because I just feel like the ability to interact with other people, to play.
So like, check this out.
To me, school is not about the education. To me, school is about like, how do you make a friend? How do you learn to get backstabbed and like overcome that?
So,
and like,
but that and that can come, and that's what my common fear and my like big thought process is. But then I look around, like, so my kids, we're quite active. We have the kids in kind of 2 activities per season. In my mind, they should be in 5, but there's just not enough time in the day while preserving their physical needs of like sleep and nutrition. And so if you're in group like sporting activity, group music class, group gymnastics, group call it a group
right.
tank,
I see what you're saying.
Kind of thing. Like, it's going to be different groups.
Yeah.
First of all, more diversity is probably better.
Yeah.
It's also going to empower you to need to do some collaboration with those people, which I don't think the existing school system has a ton of. Like, sure, you're with them on the playground and things, but you're not necessarily like collaborating to solve problems and things like this. I don't think. I don't know. So I think that we fall back on, well, think of the community, and it's like my kid plays on a hockey team, and like he's got some good friends on that hockey team. Some of my lifelong friends came from hockey and church. Like, that's where I found my community. And I've got a lot of good friends from school still, and lots of my friends from church I went to that school, so that made a lot of sense. But I don't think that schools, like, the reason we should accept the fall downs of the legacy education system is like because of community. I think that we can find community elsewhere.
Yeah. No, that's a great example of putting your kids into other different types of diverse communities. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I like this. For me, I have the same values, which is the things that you talked about. Plus, looking people in the eye, learning how to fail.
Big time.
Doing these things like being able to approach people, being able to, start a lemonade stand and like figure that out, right? Like, just these are, instead of learning math, I want you to go and see if you can sell this lemonade, and you'll figure out math.
And by
quick.
the way, exactly, you need to know math to sell lemonade.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They go hand in hand, but like, you don't. The why behind things, like my kids especially, like when they're in class, it's like, I got to get the worksheet done. It's not, I need to learn this skill. And I think that delta is probably where potential lives somewhere, in people's ability to recognize why they're learning something. There's
a new book by Adam Grant called Hidden Potential, which I have not read yet, but I've watched every single interview of him talking about it. Some really cool research on how to maximize, or not maximize, but just to unlock that potential. I recommend that you read it. Now, I do want to move topics to another dangerous idea that I think is going to get you in a little bit of hot water.
Come on, baby.
So
I'm like a frog right now. Just like the water's been increasing, I'm not going to jump out.
So you probably were following what was happening with Sam Altman and the board at OpenAI. AI, just to catch everybody up, crazy 96 hours. The board kicked him out. Then they promoted the CTO, Mira Murati, to the CEO. Then on Sunday, they promoted Emmett Shear, the former CEO.
Because the CTO quit.
Because
right?
she...
sorry.
No, she was trying to get Sam Altman back.
Yeah, right.
He came in because the board decided that he would be the new CEO. And then by Tuesday... Sam Altman came back as the CEO of OpenAI. So basically, if you didn't miss that, if you missed it, nothing really changed other than the fact that the board changed. But, I wanted to ask you this question publicly because I've been talking to a lot of executives, a lot of CEOs about the idea, the whole purpose of a board. Is a board necessary? Now, I'm being very cognizant that as a publicly traded organization that you have a board.
Well, and my shareholders are probably happy that we have a board because
yeah,
like there's definitely a need for governance. You have to have a need for governance.
I agree. I think having good governance is important. It adheres to the safety of your stakeholders at the end of the day. And as being a publicly traded organization, you are beholden to your stakeholders, and they need some accountability that things are going right. I just don't. My belief is that, I believe in this idea that strategy is energy. The idea that if you want to pursue your particular strategy, you need energy. And I do not believe that board members, people that are flying in, flying out, they're on a Zoom call, I don't think that they have enough energy and deep knowledge of what you are doing to really help you make a decision and help you navigate forward. I don't believe it. And and talking privately to CEOs and other executives, they actually believe the same thing. They're like, are we just infantilizing the CEO in this side? Are we treating the CEO like a baby because they can't make their decisions on their own? And the question is a board really necessary?
So I think a board is necessary. I would probably advocate for disrupting what certain boards do or what they're capable of. I think if I look at, I think in our governance structure, the board.
Are you the chairman of your board?
I'm chairman. We're public, but we're still a small organization. I'm chairman. I'm largest shareholder. I definitely have.
Does your board have stake in Bitcoin Well?
They do. Yep.
That's good.
Which is great.
That's good. I like that. See, in the OpenAI case, I don't think these people had any stake in it because there was a nonprofit.
Sam doesn't, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the not-for-profit case, OpenAI is actually a pretty unique structure where they're making a ton of cash, but they're not for profit. No one really owns it.
Well, there is a for-profit entity. I think that I don't know,
which Microsoft owns the majority of, and then I think the OpenAI not-for-profit entity is the owner of the rest. So it is it's a bit convoluted. From inside our we went through a full board change, and the board and I were disagreeing on certain strategic.
Yep.
Things. And if I didn't own the whole company, they probably would have elected to fire me.
Wow.
And so, but I had the kingpin of ownership. And so actually the opposite happened where they left. And I hired a new board, and then the shareholders elected the new board as members, as board members. And so I think that structure works good. It's who has the most at stake, they should have the most decision power. And I mean, if you look at what a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, that's how it works. Who has the most at stake? Who holds the most voting power?
Yeah.
They have the ability to vote out or to outvote. I think that the way we've gotten board governance and the structure of how boards operate can get a little bloated. And if you lose sight as to why the board is there, it can definitely get a little bit process heavy and a little bit bloated. I think that with a board in place, their job should be what's your mission? Why do you think your strategy will get you to the mission? And then are you executing that strategy well? And those three metrics is That's what matters.
But capitalism will do that. And my belief is that the board members, I mean, with peace and love, most of the board members that I see are almost dead. and the world is changing very quickly.
Yeah.
The world is becoming more uncertain. You have all these exponential technologies that are coming out. If I want a board member, I want a board member that is like knee deep in understanding like the future of what Web3 is going to look like. I mean, in your case, I want them to have a deep understanding of artificial intelligence and they're playing around. I want them to be, I want them to be diverse and in the fucking game. I want them to have energy. And to be honest with you, I look around and most board members, they're half dead.
Yeah. I mean, same with politicians. I think that's like.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I think the problem there that you have is not necessarily with boards, but it's the way that boards get elected. It's like why and who is on the board is probably worse than the board itself, because like as much problem, like I'm not sure if your enterprise has a board, but if Elon Musk calls you up and is like, hey, I want to be on your board, you'd probably say yes, because like taking some advice from Elon would be pretty 100%. Good, right? And so there's probably a difference between like what are board members offering and what is their purpose behind like who is actually able to do that. Like in my case, someone that doesn't understand Bitcoin, has never used Bitcoin, doesn't understand or have the same philosophy that Bitcoin is the only form of sound money, probably not going to do a great job in advising me how our enterprise should facilitate the Bitcoin adoption.
Right.
And I think the same could be true of like most businesses. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think boards and governance and all that stuff, if it's one guy at the seat, that's super centralized and super dangerous. And I think that at the end of the day, that's probably problematic. But if there's lots of people and they're all the wrong people in the seat, it's the same problem. And I think go ahead.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the board, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not discounting the value of a board. And I think what you're saying is having the right people can actually propel you forward.
Bingo.
Because you have that expertise in certain domains. Like, I think like McNary's on your board, right?
Used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And he's a rock star.
And having a lawyer that, was a partner at a firm, understanding the intricacies of the legal system. I mean, I don't know anything about law, but having somebody like that, for example, who has that legal expertise can absolutely help.
100%.
But I don't want the legal guy telling me about what we're doing around AI. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe I actually want the legal guy telling me about AI.
Well, maybe not, right? Because if you've got the banker telling you how you should handle Bitcoin, it's going to be quite a different philosophy.
Right.
Right. And I think, again, like, it comes down to who has the most at stake. And if you've got like full mission, vision, and strategy, and that's what's at stake for you, then you don't need necessarily like a legal guy. You need someone that's going to help you navigate like what dangers am I running into.
100%. So I guess the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've had a personal revelation over the last number of years, because I've invested in a number of companies, and I believe the reason why some of those companies didn't do well is because of me. Because I actually did not have the energy
to give.
I couldn't. I'm just spread. And I just feel like if you're not locked in, and I'm just flying in, flying out, if I'm just jumping on a Zoom call, as you know, as a business, there's a million things happening every fucking day. It's moving so quickly. And for me to fly in and be like, hey, I'm just like getting half caught up, right, with what's happening. Like, I just felt like I just could not, and I just could not invest the time into it. And that's why I've actually moved off from doing that. Like, I don't want to take on more companies around. I just want to focus on what I'm doing, because I think I'm doing a disservice to. That's why I don't want to take a board seat, because I don't think I could create the energy necessary. Well, I'm going to come in like some white knight and tell them, oh, we should do this, you should do this. I'm like, I don't have the energy in the company.
Where I find value in our board is less in the board meetings. The board meetings are for shareholders, and the board meetings are to make sure that I'm not lying to the shareholders, and that's
important.
And that's good. But the value that I get is in the relationship that I have with the board members, so that I can call them. Like yesterday, one of our board members, I had an idea, strategic idea. I texted him. I was like, hey man, I had a thought. Let's jump on a call. 30 seconds later, we're on a phone call. We chat for like 18 to 19 minutes. And then he's going to think about some stuff. I'm going to think about some stuff. We're going to have a call next week. Right? That's the value.
Yeah.
In it's not like there's no minutes. There's no like calling the meeting to order and like, all right, well, in section 4.2 of our agenda today, it's like, hey man, this is what I'm thinking. X, Y, Z.
Love that.
What are your thoughts? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Takeaway. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, that's who your board needs to be. It's not so much like, you know, well, what's the agenda say? We're kind of off topic here, guys. It's like, no. This is what the business needs right now. Here's how you can help.
That.
Hit me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit.
So listen, we didn't get Adam in trouble on that one, so that's good. Okay, I want to shift gears because something happened to me. Interesting thing that happened to me this week, and to me, the dangerous idea is that your ideas are not that original, and so don't get so romantic about your particular ideas. A couple weeks ago, I did something. I put out my own GPT. I trained a GPT on my book and all my talks and my podcast, and I put it into this thing called Kanungo GPT. It's like an innovation co-pilot. You can ask it anything. And it was a really interesting experiment because I'm throwing all my knowledge in there. Something else happened like a couple days ago because it was a 1-year anniversary of our book coming out, The Bold Ones. Somebody messaged me and said, hey, I actually built a facilitation guide based on The Bold Ones. And you know, really love the book and congrats and keep going. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, do you mind if I see the facilitation guide that you built based on my book? And I saw it. It literally, it's awesome. It took all the concept from my book. It turned it into this amazing facilitation guide.
What is that? What's
facilitation guide is like if you want to go through, work with an organization with a workshop, or you want to go through a strategic planning exercise with them. They use my
I see. Yeah.
They use my book as a guide.
Right.
And I looked at the guide. It was all in their corporate branding. There was absolutely no reference to The Bold Ones or to me at all. And I messaged him back and I said, this is incredible. Like, the fact that you took this and you sort of made it your own and you remixed it, you copied it, you stole it. And like, to me, that was incredible. And the reason why I was so inspired by it is like, wow, I did something and somebody went and stole it and put it in their own like realm, right? And I think a lot of people, you know, would be like, they would get the copyright people, they get the IP people out, and they'd be like, no, you need to sue this guy. You know, he's stealing your IP. He's going off and he's selling it. He's actually commercializing it and he's doing something with it. And I'm actually like, no, I'm doing this. Why am I creating a book? Why am I putting out videos? I'm doing it so that I can actually create an impact in the world. I'm doing it so that people can go off and actually make an impact and make money and they can change their lives. Why would I get a copyright person to look at this? And I want people to steal what I have and to go and do something with it. And yet I feel like so many people, they're holding on to, you know, their ideas when, bro, you're going to die. So why are you going to take these ideas to the grave, or are you going to let other people use it so that they can make a better life for themselves and the world?
Yeah, man, that's, I mean, like, good for you, and congrats on that, because I think that is probably where, like, it's probably more of an age thing than anything else.
Okay.
But I think we have to understand that things are a lot more infinite these days than they used to be. And I think that...
What do you mean?
Like, infinite meaning our access to information and our access to distribution is just, like, far more vast. And so in the past, like, copyright and things probably were brought in to, like, quote unquote, protect the individual. But that's always been a hamper to the collective. Think about, like, I think, like, pharmaceuticals are just, like, the worst example of this, where, like, they lock up, they develop something, like, game changing, they lock it up, and then they make it unnecessary, or like incapable, out of reach for the majority of people, which is, like, obviously bad. Like, and it's like, it goes back to the why of why they're like, why did you do that? Why did you go through the pain and the investment of developing this drug? And it was not to help people, but it was to make money. And so that's the reason. But you're doing this to help people. And you believe that in helping more people, you will eventually probably make money, right? Like, obviously. And so your why, the reason you're willing and able to let that guy just like willy-nilly grab some stuff and then put it out there is because you understand that you've now like empowered one individual to help 100, 200, 1,000. Like, how many people are going to be helped because of that? And that's a testament to your mission. You're not necessarily here just to make bank. You're here to like actually change the way society thinks. You believe that like if we even dig down and dig into why any of us work so hard, it's just for our kids, for the next generation. And like honestly, we leave our kids millions of dollars, and that's great. That's awesome. Lock some people up. Don't like, not actually lock people up, but like don't let people buy certain things, make more money, put that in a savings account, a trust account, and then give it to your kids. But you're probably thinking, well, my kids are going to benefit from a better world if more people think like how I've addressed and told people they should probably start thinking. That's going to have a net beneficial effect, more than like a couple $1,000 a month of royalties will have. And I think that's the absolute perfect attitude to have. And that's, I mean, hey, that's the Bitcoin ethos. Like, Satoshi didn't lock that up. Imagine if Satoshi was like, nah, this is just for me and a couple of my friends. Like, it doesn't even come close to seeing the success and have changing the world changing factor that Bitcoin has if you're like selfish and keep that to yourself. So I think it's bang on.
And I appreciate that. And I think plagiarism is bad. Like, I think just copying something direct and saying that it's yours, which kind of happened, but they kind of made it better. So to me, like, when you can make it a little bit better or you can tweak it, I'm fine with that. But Adam O'Brien, taking a post that Adam O'Brien wrote and then copying and pasting that and saying Shawn Canungo, that to me is a little bit like, to me, I want it to be at least 3% better.
Sure.
Just make it 3% better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm totally fine with that. Take my post, take my idea, and make it 3% better.
But think about how short-sighted plagiarism would be. Like, if this guy is trying to position himself as like thought leader extraordinaire, look at me, I'm going to give your business this facilitation guide that's going to be incredible. And then it's like, and then one guy is like, dude, Shawn did this like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And that guy is dead. That guy is done. He will never work again.
Totally.
The risk of plagiarism should be so high that it just becomes like unnecessary. And I agree, it's very, very unnatural. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't be so excited about just getting something out there. We should be so excited about changing the world, which you can only do by getting something out there.
And going back to my original concept, the idea that your ideas are not that original, like, does anybody have an original thought, or is it just a remix of everything that we've learned? We're just taking bits and pieces of all these things. And that's why I get caught up with a lot of people talking about ChatGPT and all these LLMs, and they're spitting out all these different things that are based on, what is it based on? It's based on training data, which is based on everything that humans have ever built. The only reason why an LLM exists is because all of human history and all our knowledge combined. Yes, it is stealing. It is stealing a little bit from Adam. Yeah. It's stealing a little bit from Shawn. It's stealing a little bit from Elon, and it's coming up with something. Guess what? That's how our brains work. That's how ideas go. It takes a little bit of everything, and then you put it together. That's what an LLM is doing. So the idea that it's stealing from people absolutely is. Guess what? We do that all the time.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's just how humans, that's how like perfect DNA works. Like, if you think about like how our genetics work, it's like you need two people from different bloodlines to make a healthy kid. Yeah. And the closer you get to the same bloodline, like the less and less healthy that kid is, promoting like diversity inside bloodlines. And I think ideas have the exact same consequence. You want to take a little bit lots of different ideas from different like idea bloodlines or whatever you want to call them, and push them together to make like the new kid. And then that kid's got like some diversity of like that idea, that like child idea has some like diversity of thought from a bunch of different things. It goes and then merges with another like child idea, and they collectively make a new child idea.
Exactly.
And that's how the ideas, but we get into trouble when we sit inside this little like, what would you call this? Like we're coming to mind as like a circle jerk
Yeah.
type of idea factory, which is like horrible. And all it does is breed sick idea children, and they're not good. They're poisonous. They go out into the world thinking they're like worth everything, and then more. But in fact, they are like the equivalent of like a brother and sister having a children. They're just like, they're not going to be healthy. Like it's, I think we've been designed such that diversity of bloodlines, and is it a coincidence that our like the reflection of ourself in ideas need that same level of diversity? I don't think so.
Very well said. Listen, we're coming up to the end of this, and what we do at the end of this pod is we hit some juicy current topics just very quickly. We talked about one, which was Cybertruck, which was great.
Nice.
One of the viral videos that we had a number of months ago had to do with Taylor Swift, and we went back and forth around who was more influential, Taylor Swift or Kim Kardashian. But let me tell you this, as of this week, Taylor Swift was put as the person of the year by Time magazine. And I think it's a tragedy. I think it's an absolute tragedy. The person of the year is clearly the CEO of OpenAI, the former and new CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, who has created the most impactful application that the world has probably ever seen around OpenAI's ChatGPT. It has created almost $90 billion in value. Don't take anything away from Taylor Swift's economic impact, but you have to give it to Sam Altman. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, man. I mean, does that not show how garbage these like fake publicity awards are? Like, you know, what does Time have to gain by promoting Sam Altman? Nothing, right? What does Time have to gain by promoting Taylor Swift? It's like a lot more. Right? If you look at the factors that are involved.
So you agree with this? You agree that Sam Altman should be the CEO?
No, I think
person of the year. You're actually like,
I'm like, who
this.
cares? Like,
okay,
why do I care what a bunch of like
that's a good take,
greasy old white guys in a room sitting around a little table decide who the most like? Do they even know all the people in the world? Do they even know who like? We're actually not talking about the world. We're talking about like North America. We're actually not talking about North America. We're talking about like USA. So it's not really like a good representation of like the world en masse. I don't think awards like that mean anything too much. And in fact, I think that awards like that are going to like just disappear because I don't think the generations below us care whatsoever. And I think that the reason Time picks Taylor Swift is to try to get 12-year-old girls to care about Time. They don't like 12-year-old girls don't use ChatGPT, or if they do, they don't do it knowingly. They don't know who Sam Altman is. And Time, like the people around picking that person, they're not like, who actually made the impact to the world? They're like, how do we expand our target market? How do we expand the market that is going to drive profits in the future?
Right.
And if we say Sam Altman, we're not going to capture the next gen. If we say Taylor Swift, that's how we capture the next gen. And so I don't think it's relevant at all. And I think it's just a marketing, like, it's just back to clicks. Which one gets more clicks?
Well, I think my conspiracy is that Mark Benioff actually owns Time. He's been pushing Einstein AI because of Salesforce and what they've been doing in that particular space. And of course, it's in direct competition to Sam Altman and OpenAI. So that is my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if that played a factor into it. Which, like, again, just goes, it's just not math. Like the second we put any individual, we centralize the power in any way, shape, or form, we dilute the what's the word I'm looking for? The authenticity of that result. And in this case, we've put someone else who has like ownership and arguably direct control over who the person of the year is. And the second we add his emotions into it, the whole thing's for naught.
Okay, so I like that take, which is, I don't care if it's Sam Altman. I don't care if it's Taylor Swift. This is stupid altogether.
Yeah, man.
We don't
like,
need this.
Who's the person of the year? It's like for this millennia, it's Satoshi, and for the millennia before that, it was Jesus. There we go. There's the people of the year or of the millennia.
I love this. The other hot topic or current event that's happening right now is like McDonald's is doing something really interesting. They're rolling a new concept out. Neve, can you just double check what the concept? What, you're into this? Cosmc. Okay, it's called Cosmc, right? And so I was reading a little bit about it. So they're rolling out this new restaurant, Cosmc, and it is caffeinated drinks and sort of pick-me-up snacks that you can get. A new store concept, not going away from McDonald's, but just sort of an entirely new concept for. I think that what they're trying to do is hit at people that are, they're looking for something quick, which we all are. We're looking for something quick. Yeah. Caffeine is not going away. We want more caffeine. We're overtired. We're looking at our Netflix. We're looking at Twitter at late at night. We're sleep deprived ever before, and we want snacks. And I think it's a great concept. Cosmc. They're rolling out, I believe in Illinois. They're rolling out a number of stores in Texas. Will this be a juggernaut, Adam O'Brien? Cosmc, McDonald's.
Part of me wants to say no, because the only reason McDonald's succeeds is because they have golden arches. And I think if Cosmc produces anything that is even remotely close to the garbage that they pump out of their stores currently, it probably won't. It just won't work because they're not gonna have a good brand. But they also have unlimited money to put behind it and to brand it. So if they brand it properly, and if McDonald's has shown us anything, is that they can brand things pretty good. If they brand it properly and Cosmc becomes associated with good snacks that pick you up, then yeah, they're gonna rock it. Do they have the chops to brand a second juggernaut? Time will tell. Very
difficult to do. Very difficult for existing brands to create something that's net new. I mean, if you look at even some of the tech companies, it's very difficult to do. I mean, Facebook, Threads died. Facebook had to buy Instagram, had to buy WhatsApp. Look at Microsoft, they had to buy OpenAI, or put a massive investment into it. Very few companies are able to build something net new, from the ground up, a brand internally, and have it succeed. It's very difficult to do. And I just believe that it's just not different. To me, Cosmc is not differentiated enough. I don't think it's going to be a winner. It seems like a boring concept.
Yeah, take that. The reason why that happens is because complicated systems are often developed over time from simple systems. And when you try to plant something new using the existing complicated process, it just can't work. It'd be like planting a brand new little rose inside a massive forest. It just gets smothered.
Very hard to do.
Yeah, it just doesn't. You need to have the unique. I mean, what gets you here won't get you there, and the same concept is true.
I think Apple obviously did that really well, where they had the Macintosh, and actually when Steve Jobs was building, there was a competition between the new Macintosh and the Lisa. He actually divided the teams together, so there was two teams that competed against each other. And I think that's a great way of doing it because you're isolating this entire team.
Yeah, but you're also abandoning process. You are complete. You're like blow up everything.
Yeah,
I don't care about any of the rules. Do something.
And that's what they did with the iPod and the iPhone, right? The iPhone cannibalized the iPod because essentially the iPod was in the iPhone. Right. You could get 1,000 songs in the phone, and you need that process of being able to self-cannibalize your own. What's working today. And of course, we know how successful the iPod was. So the ability to build something new internally, extremely hard to do. Very few companies have been able to do that successfully. So
yeah, it's because they're afraid to abandon their process.
Yeah.
They're afraid to blow things up and continue taking it on because they think that their process is the holy grail. But what's the holy grail is the journey to the process. Blow that process up, start a new journey. That's how you get to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Adam, wow. Man, I get energized by these conversations that we're having on here on Dangerous Ideas. It's always a pleasure to have you. Man, congratulations as well on the Bitcoin rise. It will fall again. It will fall again. But you are maximizing the attention, the resources to capitalize on what you guys are doing. Bitcoin well, super inspiring. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for being on. And if you haven't done this, rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do on this pod. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, bro.